happen if the Christians decided, well, you know, we want our devotion time, we want reading our Bible time in a Christian room only? What would the ACLU do? You'll hear it to high heaven, wouldn't you? And this is what's happening. But the Arabic lobby, the Muslim lobby, and the Saudis figured out, you know, the strategy worked so well on the university level in brainwashing our students. Why wait until we get to the universities? Why don't we start teaching and brainwashing these students in middle school and in high school about the religion of Islam? So now we have the Muslim Council on Education working with America's top publishers who write the history books and the social studies book, like Houghton Mifflin, consulting with them about what to write about Islam in the history books. Here's a course called the Islam course, taught in 7th grade in public school. It's a 3-week course where American students have to adopt Muslim names for 3 weeks, basically become Muslims, have, you know, like, have to adopt Islamic names like Khadija and Muhammad for girls and boys, have to memorize and recite verses from the Quran, have to fast for 1 day to experience Ramadan or the holy Islamic holiday, go to a mosque on a field trip. Why? Since when? Whatever happened to the separation of church and state? Can you imagine a rabbi or a pastor walking into a public school and telling the students, today, for the next 3 weeks, you're going to become, you know, Jews or Christians. You're going to have Judeo-Christian names, Michael and Sarah. You're going to memorize and recite verses from the Bible. And we're going to you're going to fast to experience Yom Kippur or Good Friday. And you're going to go to a temple, synagogue, or to a church on a field trip. What do you think the ACLU would do? This course is discussed in detail in my book. And I got this course, this is the actual course that was presented as evidence by the Thomas More Law Center while they filed a lawsuit against the Excelsior School in Byron, California, which was teaching this course. When I published my book last year, I called the school in April to verify that this course was still being taught at the school. The lady that answered the phone was very offended of the questions that we were asking, and she said, well, you know, this is a public-approved, state-approved curriculum. We are asleep at the switch, and we are not paying attention. And we have terrorist organizations infiltrating our country. You know, 40 arrests in the last 6 months of homegrown jihadists is something to be very concerned about. That means they are here, they are recruiting, they have cells in our communities, and I can tell you, Denver has one of the largest cells. There are at least 10 cells in the city of Denver. If you live in the city of Denver today, you have shaken hands with a terrorist, you have exchanged money with a terrorist, you maybe have sat next to a terrorist in a movie theater, you have crossed by a terrorist when you were shopping. In our own community, we can no longer bury our head in the sand. I was very surprised when Napolitano gave her speech a few days ago, where she mentioned terrorism at least 4 times. I was shocked because, you know, this is man-made disasters. We don't call it a war on terror anymore. And overseas contingencies, you know, which ridiculous words. But after the arrest of the 7 in North Carolina, a father, a Caucasian, a Christian, Daniel Boyd, who converted to Islam, was fighting for jihad, flew his own 2 sons to Gaza so he can teach them about martyrdom and jihadism as the highest reward for them to aspire to be. We can no longer bury our head in the sand. And this is exactly why she said, we, the American public, need to be mobilized. We, the American public, need to be vigilant. And I'm proud to tell you that we are way ahead of her. Because with Act for America right now, we have over 60,000 members, 300 chapters nationwide, full-time lobbyists on Capitol Hill, and baby, we are mobilized. and we are organized, and we are the eyes and ears in our community. And it is great citizens like the people that organized this lecture today. Evelinda Ehrman, I want to thank you. She is our chapter leader. Evelinda, please stand up. Where are you? Evelinda, I do not know where she's standing, but she's working. She's running around working. Her assistants who worked with her, Vicky Schwartz, Debbie Jacobs, I want to thank you. Patriotic Americans like you are going to save our nation. I want to thank Faith Bible Chapel for opening its doors for us. Thank you, Pastor George and Cheryl. And by the way, I have a special hello from you. I know you're watching us via web, from our mutual dear friend, Judith and Yoram Curiel. I'm sorry you're not here, but they send you their love and they say hello. But I want to thank you, Pastor, for opening your church to us. We need to wake up people in America, and we need churches and pastors to open their churches. We need organization where we can speak to thousands of people at a time, because we need to mobilize the nation. We are fighting a radical enemy that's bent on destroying us. And I want to make something very clear. We are talking about radical Islam. There are wonderful moderate Muslims in the world. Let me make that very clear. We are not against all Muslims. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Not all of them are radicals. The radicals are the minority. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25% only. However, that number translates to 180 million to 300 million suicide bombers ready to walk into this room and blow us all up to smithereen. That's as big as the population of the United States. We cannot ignore that number. The peaceful majority are irrelevant in this fight, and here is why. Most Germans were peaceful people. They were not all Nazis. The Nazis were the minority. However, the Nazis drove the whole world into war. And as a result, 60 million people died, 14 million in concentration camps, 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. Thank God for the Jews who keep the memory alive so we can remember what happens when people turn a blind eye to evil. Most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet Russian communists were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. China's huge population was peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese communists were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. Japanese citizens prior to World War II, not every Japanese was a warmongering sadist. Yet Japan was able to murder its way across Southeast Asia in an orgy of killing 12 million people, mostly killed by shovels and bayonets. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. And today when we discuss radical Islam, we discuss an enemy bent on destroying Western civilization. And unless the peaceful majority in the Islamic world is willing and ready to stand up and fight them, we better stand up to fight and defend ourselves and ensure our survival. I believe every single one of us in life is prepared in life for a time, for a purpose, for a mission. Every trial and tribulation we go through is a preparation for the next step in our life, so we can become better, more equipped to make a difference, to make the world a better place, to change the world, to preserve what we have and pass it to our future generation even better than what we received it. Our founding fathers crossed oceans, and most of them died penniless in order to give us the country that we have today. We owe it to them to preserve what they have created, put their lives on the line, and most of them died broke to give us what we have.